Hi everybody, I am the Old Crone, and I just thought that maybe there might be one or two of you that might want to know how to make your own creepy dolls. To take her hair off and take her clothes off, because I don't know yet if I'm going to ruin this, if I'm going to age it or paint it or distress it, or if this is even going to be her final outfit. So the first thing that I do is I take off her outfit. We are going to take this off. Now, if you can see the back of her neck, can you see that? She's a numbered doll. Myself, I will not destroy a doll that has intrinsic value. If it is a limited edition and you know what edition it is, check online, put that in the search thing and see if the doll is worth anything. Don't destroy it. Sell it. Make some money off of that doll, and then you can buy a doll that's not worth anything. I just have a problem with destroying something that has intrinsic value. If it has sentimental value, don't do it. You'll regret it. If your daughter has a favorite doll and you want to keep it preserved forever, definitely don't do this, because it will destroy the doll. You'll never get it back to its original state. But if it doesn't mean anything to anybody, or if it's broken, do it, because you'll have something that you can use as a Halloween prop, as a gag to scare people. They're fun to make. I really enjoy making them. And like I said, when you get started on this, people are really, really reluctant to tell you how to do any of it. And I just don't understand that. As an artist, we should be, shouting from the rooftops. If you want to know, I'll tell you, so that more of us can do this. This way, we have a pool of people that maybe you tried something that I didn't. Maybe you had success with something that I didn't. And if you can give me some tips, I'll give you some tips, and we'll be better artists for it. Because, really, that's what it's about, is having fun with this. Otherwise, why do it? If it feels like work, don't do it. So, okay. Her dress is off. Her little skirt thing is off. Now, almost every doll I've ever got, the little pantaloons that are underneath, look like this. They're sagged out and bagged out because it dry rots. It's dry rotted. And I'm not going to worry about it. If it bothers me a lot, I might glue it, but I ain't going to sew it. I ain't got time for that, and I don't want to do it. So there you go. I'm going to take her shoes off, and I put everything in a pile, and I do try to keep everything together. But, well, my life is a little messy. My rooms are a little messy. Especially this room, because this room is not just my craft room, it's our storage room. So I have all of my Christmas and Halloween boxes in here, and it's a mess. I have this little area, and that's it. Okay, so taking her little socks off, maybe, because, yeah, I thought for a second they were glued. Okay, so she is down to her skivvies, and she looks like she's in good condition. If she had a broken hand or broken finger, broken foot, take that and work it to your advantage. Make it look like the break caused gangrene. Put a little tiny dot of white paint and it becomes a finger bone sticking out. Okay. We're going to try to take the hair off. This can sometimes be tricky, because sometimes when they get to where they're going, the hair is stuck on, or it's coming loose, and they'll re-glue it, and that makes it really difficult. If you can see under here, there's a little bit of glue right there, and I'm not going to worry about that. I'm just going to start working around. Now, as I said, this is a numbered edition. But I don't know a numbered edition of what. There's no name on this doll. There's nothing on this doll to tell me what collection she's from or anything like that. I can tell you that her eyes are on the cheap side. The paint on her face is kind of on the cheap side. You'll know when you see a really good doll. You'll know. And those are the ones that you got to ask yourself. Is it worth it to possibly destroy this doll? Sometimes I say yes. But no. If it's like a Hamilton collection doll and there was like a ton made, I'm going to do that doll. And I have done those dolls. But some of these handmade dolls that people will pour the porcelain and they'll take their time and they'll do it are gorgeous. And I would not mess with those. I did buy one off of eBay. And it was a bride doll. And I thought she was gorgeous. And she was one of those that was handmade. You could tell she was made lovingly. The paint job was beautiful. The eyes were gorgeous. Everything was nice until she got here and I opened her and found out that she had been stored probably in a basement. It smelled like a basement. And in order for me to clean her, I ended up having to destroy her to clean her. So I figured at that point, might as well. Okay, so I'm just peeling. And once you get it going pretty good, you just keep peeling. It ain't hurting nothing. She hasn't complained yet, and if she ever did complain, I would probably crap myself and run out of the room. But, okay, there we go. Now, come on. This is not for the faint of heart. Okay, now, there. We have a hairless doll with a hole in her head because her pate, they call it pate, came off with the hair. Now, if I use the hair, that's fine. If I decide not to use the hair, I'll peel this off and use it to cover the hole back up. And if you get a doll that's missing this, no worries. Use a piece of cardboard, cover the hole up, and put some clay over it. And you're good to go. So there's her hair. There's her head. Now you can see in here. Can you see that? I don't know. Let me see if I can put my light in here. There you go. There you go. Her eyes are glued in and covered with fabric. That's fine. That just makes it 10 times harder to get them out. Now, I like to start with the eyes out because that way I feel like I don't have to be very careful. If you don't want to take the eyes out, if you think, hey, those eyes look pretty good to me, they'll work fine. Take some silly putty, just regular old silly putty at the dollar store, and take a little glob, cover her eyes, and use a knife, a butter knife, or I have clay tools. I use like this, or let's see what else. This, it's got a rubbery end. You can't see that. There you go. It's got a rubbery end. You don't have to have these tools. Once you get into this, if you get addicted to it, these are not expensive to buy on Amazon. I love Amazon. You could even use a popsicle stick. I mean, we're not talking rocket science here. Just take the silly putty, cover the eyeballs, and you're good to go. In order to get these out, what I do, personally, is I use an embossing gun. A heat gun, embossing gun. This one, as you can see, has been through it. My dogs I had before got a hold of it because I left it down. And they chewed the crap out of it, but it still works. It ain't pretty, but it still works. So I take this, I aim it in her head. Now this is a porcelain doll. It's not going to hurt her, but she will get hot. So hold her by her body, because if you hold her by the porcelain, you're going to burn yourself. It gets very, very hot. Turn it on. It's going to be loud. I need to get a new one that's not so loud and obnoxious, because this really does get obnoxious after a little bit. And it doesn't smell very good. It smells like like stuff you'd find in your grandma's attic. You know that smell? But I guess if somebody were to pop your head open and try to use a heat gun to get your eyeballs out, it wouldn't smell good either. So, you know. All right. Get it good and warm, because that glue is serious business. Okay. Set that down on something safe. I set it on the base of the doll stand. Now, let's see, where's my... I have a pair of these that work really good for this. That way I don't got to stick my digits in there and try to get it out and get it burned. Grab a hold of it and pull that off. Did you see the glue stretch? Now that glue is still wet, so if you set these down, glue side down, they're going to stick. And it's going to be hell to pay to get them out. Okay, can you see that? Yeah. Oh. Well, hell. See, I got cocky because the first one came out quick. Okay, I got it. But now it's stuck to my thing. All right, hold on a minute. My goodness. Now I got glue all over this. And I hear the train's going to come. You guys are going to get to hear the train. This glue looks clear. Most of the time, the glue is going to be like a dark amber color. I'm going to pause you for a second. Okay. If you let the glue dry on here, it'll pick right off. You ain't got to worry about ruining your good stuff. I mean, don't use your dinner utensils to do this, because I wouldn't want to eat after this. But it will pick off. Like if you use your tweezers, it'll pick off. Now, the glue in here is clear. You can see the glue right there? It's clear. And see how sticky it still is? Oh, look at that. There goes one eyeball. Woohoo! That was easy. They're not always that easy. Stick my finger in there and see if it's still hot. There. Eyeball out. And I save every eyeball. Even if I'm not going to reuse them, they'll come in handy for something else. So, oh, it's on my finger and I can't get it off. Like a booger. Okay. Push from the front. Like that. Can you see? You get a little grippy spot. Jeez. Okay. There we go. Both eyes are out. There. Now, she is dirty. You probably can't see, but she's a dirty doll. Dusty. So what I will do is I will take 91% isopropyl rubbing alcohol. That's it. That's what I use. Because this will, it could also take some paint off, so be careful. Okay. Just start rubbing her face with it. Get in the eye sockets, because that's where you accumulate most of the dirt, is in the eye sockets. And can you see the streak of red on there? That's where the paint is coming off that they made eyeshadow on her eye. But if the dirt doesn't come off with this, don't worry about it. If it's stuck that good that rubbing alcohol won't take it off, then you ain't got to worry about your paints rubbing it. You just need to do this so that your base coat sticks and all the other layers will stick. Okay. I do her hands because I paint all of it. My art teacher, when I was in junior high, Miss Rollet, used to ask, when you thought you were finished with your work, she used to ask you, are you decent in the dark? And that meant, if I pick this piece up and turn it around, is it going to be done, or are you just selling me a pig in a poke? I'm looking at the front of it, looks great, but does the back look good? Does the bottom look good? So, Miss Rollet, I try to be decent in the dark. At least when it comes to dolls. I make no guarantees. Okay. All right, she's good and dry. This stuff is potent. It stinks. Make sure you're working in a well-ventilated area. Okay, that's done. So we can put that away. Now, she is ready for her base coat. And for her base coat, we are going to be using the matte medium. I also do resin work, so I have a ton of these little cups. If you don't have one of these little cups, use a small plate wrapped in tin foil. And just pour some of this out. And it comes out milky. You don't have to shake it. It looks like watered down Elmer's glue. See? But you cannot use Elmer's glue for this because Elmer's glue will lift up. There is a crackle technique where you use Elmer's glue as your base. So don't use Elmer's glue for this. Use the matte medium. And any brush will do. I've got this, I mean, you could see how crappy and old this brush is. I've had this thing forever. I don't know what size it is. It's just a brush. So dip in. You should wet your brush first. I didn't. Do as I say, not as I do. And just start going to town. Start and cover even the parts that you think are going to be covered again with hair, because you don't know until the end if you're actually going to be using that hair. So you got to treat it like she's not going to have it. And I mean, you could see I am glooping it on. But what I'll do is I'll gloop it on, and then I'll come back and I'll smooth it out so I don't leave big giant puddles. Because if you're going to have a failure in your base coat, it's going to be where you've puddled it, and that ends up peeling up later. Because these are acrylics. These are water cleanup. So that's good. All right, and you don't need a lot. You see, I dipped my brush that one time, and I still have enough on my brush to do her hands and her feet. And then you're going to let this coat completely dry. It's got to be completely dry. And then you will go on to your paint colors, which is the fun part. I don't know what I'm going to do with her yet. I don't know what she looks like yet. Some dolls you'll pick up and you'll think, oh, this would make a great vampire. Don't you think that'd make a great vampire? And some dolls that are broken, you already have, I mean, if you know anything about Old Crone's Twisted Orphanage, every doll has a story. A lot of the times, the dolls come after the story. I'll have the story rolling around in my head, and I'll see a doll, and I'll think, ooh, that would make a good this. But 9 times out of 10, the doll comes first and the story follows. As I'm working on it, like I have a doll, and I'll pull it out and show you. She's huge, and she doesn't have a stand. She had a broken leg, a broken hand. She was missing her pinky finger. But she was a beautiful doll, and you could tell she was worth some money. When somebody bought her, she cost quite a bit of money because she was really well done. Her eyes are beautiful. But she was broken and missing parts of the broken. Like, I didn't have her pinky finger to glue back on. I glued her leg back together, but you could tell it was broken. There was no getting around it. So I worked with it. I used that as my base, and her leg ended up looking like it had gangrene, and she had her pinky, so I made sure to make the gangrene around the pinky area, and I put a little white dot for a pinky bone. And as an added bonus, I took her head and I put clay on it. I left the pate, just the blank pate, and I put clay around it, and I made it look like she had been scalped. I cut her wig apart and glued little pieces of hair around and made it look like she'd been scalped. And used some resin to make some like transparent blood look. And I'll get into the resin part because I love resin. I love it. Love it, love it. It's not for everybody. It can be a little expensive, and it's not something that you can buy and let sit on your shelf forever. There is a shelf life to it because it goes yellow if you don't use it. Okay, hang on a minute. I gotta lift her. I'm blind as a bat, so sometimes I have to look up over my eyeglasses to see what I'm doing. Okay. I'm old enough to need bifocals, but I'm vain enough not to get them yet. So I do a lot of this, and I'm okay with that. So let's see here, because I was talking so much I have to dip again. Otherwise I would have had enough, except I get my mouth going and all bets are off. And just so you guys know, I am terrified to do this. I am terrified of posting these videos. But I've had many people in my personal life tell me, you know, you should do videos. And I think when I went looking for how to do creepy dolls, just to see, you know, if there was any new ideas that I hadn't thought of, there's very few videos. There's very few people who are willing to share. And when you get to the level of where I'm at with these dolls, nobody wants to tell you how they did things. And I just think that's wrong. Like I said, I'm secure in my own talent and my own imagination. It's a creepy, dark place up there. That I will absolutely help you if I can. Now, I do not do the reborn babies. I don't do those. I'd love to, but they're crazy expensive. Those Genesis heat set paints are crazy expensive to get started doing. You have to have so much stuff to get started, and I just don't want to invest that kind of money. What if I don't like it? You know, what if I spend all that money and I realize, nah, not for me. I won't do it. So once I got to the point where I'm doing these, it just seems like I have enough. I don't need to do the reborns. I have under my desk, I have a big box of vinyl baby dolls that I'm working on. Well, that I plan to work on. I haven't worked on them yet. But let me pause this and I'm going to grab that other doll that I was talking about. Hold on. Okay. This is the doll that I was talking about. See her eyes? Aren't they beautiful? She's just a pretty little girl. And that's her head. Now, her head, let me see if I can give us better. Her head is clay. That's clay that I painted. I put it on there. If you could see me better. Okay. I put it on there over her pate, and then I took the clay and I formed it up. I just took the raw clay. You can see it didn't even smooth the edges, and bent it over. And this clear, I painted it. That's red blood color paint, acrylic paint. And then I put the tinted resin over it. That's why it looks like glass. And that's what's dripped. And you can see it on her outfit here. That's hard where the resin dries. And she had a broken pinky finger. Can you see that? I don't know if you can see or not. My lighting is terrible. And doesn't help I got that big bright window right behind me. I'm trying to keep my fat head in the way. But her pinky finger was broken and I didn't have it to glue it back on. So I don't know if you can see, the resin kind of is throwing a glare on it. There's a little white spot right there where her finger bone was. But I painted it like bruised and gangrenous, and then I put the blood color, and then I put the resin over it so that it was shiny. And can you see the modeling on her skin? If I pull out maybe, her skin is really mottled, and the blue and the red modeling is watercolor pencil. Not hard to do. You just squiggle it around. Now her foot that was broken, this was her. Oh, she's a big girl too. She's a big girl. This was her foot that was broken. And when I glued it, the glue didn't sit right. It didn't hold. So I got frustrated and I went back in and I used the epoxy putty and fixed it with the epoxy putty, which left the ridge. So I figured, well, I'm going to work with it and I'm going to go with it. So where all of the blood, like it was here, all the way around and up there, you can see the cracks. I made it, in the putty part, I put some spots like she had stitches, you know, like they tried to fix it. There's her foot, and that's where the resin pooled. And, you know, I don't like that. I'm probably going to go back in and fix it. But that's what I'm talking about when I say use what you can, use what comes with it. But her other foot was beautiful. And I just love the way her feet look. Like I said, you could tell she was a quality doll to start with, because she's heavy. She's very heavy. She's very solid. And her eye color, I did not change her eyes. That's what color they came. And I love those eyes because they're glass and they have depth and they're beautiful. So, but her wig, I didn't want to put the wig back on, obviously, because I did that to her head. Her story is she was a farm girl, and she was in a farming accident. She was playing out in the field, and her papa didn't see her, and he ran over her with the combine. Now, do I know if that's what would actually happen in real life? No, I don't know. But if, God forbid, anything ever happens to me, I'm totally going to need somebody to clear my browser history and my search history, because I've got all kinds of weird stuff that I have Googled to try to figure out how to do stuff. I follow morticians on Instagram so that I can see, you know, how stuff looks. I try to make things as realistic as possible. You can't really make a realistic vampire. I don't know any in person. You can't really make a realistic zombie, but you can make realistic rotting flesh. Stuff like that. Now, the eyes, to try to make zombie eyes, I can't find them cheap on eBay. And when I see somebody that does like an exorcist doll, which I'm dying to do, and they have these fabulous eyes that look like Reagan's eyes from The Exorcist, and I ask them, oh, those are beautiful, where'd you get them? And they don't answer me. I'm left to try to figure it out on my own. And I will tell you this, I have painted the eyes, and you can tell they were painted. That's not my favorite thing. I don't think it looks good. So until I figure out a way to make my own eyes, if I do, I will let you in on it and I'll show you. I've got some ideas rolling around with the resin, but that's down the road. I'm not even going to worry about that yet. But see, now my train jumped track and I can't think where I was at. But anyway, yeah, try to get things realistic. I mean, if you're making a fantasy thing like a werewolf, who's going to say if yours is right or wrong? Who has a werewolf to point at and say, look, you've got the ears wrong, or look, you've got the snout wrong, or you've got this? Nobody. So if anybody tries to give you stuff about, well, you know, your ghost doll doesn't look realistic. Well, hello. Okay, if you can show me a photograph of a ghost, then we'll discuss this. But until you have a photograph, don't come at me with that. My doll looks how it looks, and that's how I intended it to look. I am taking artistic license. And I mean, we know that there are no such things as dinosaurs. So how do we know that Steven Spielberg got it right? I don't care. I enjoy the fantasy of it. And there's dolls that I have that I started out slapping clay on. Not gonna lie, just slapping some clay on. And they turned out really cool. I don't know what they are, but I'll make a story up about it, and that's what it is. There's some that I have one right now that I started doing the clay work and all of that, and the thing has confounded me, and I don't like where it's going, and I don't know what I'm going to do with it. So it sits here and it waits until I get an inspiration, and then I'll come in here at 2 o'clock in the morning and sit down and start working through it. I talk to myself while I'm doing this. I talk to the dolls because, you know, as long as they don't answer me back, we're okay. Once they start answering me back, I'm not going to do this no more. They're fun to do, and they're a good outlet. If you get anxiety or if you get frustrated, it's nice to be able to come into a place where you're going to be left alone and you can throw on some music and create things. Even if you don't like how it's turning out, you just wash it off and do it again. So let me set her down. I'm just going to put her over here on top of that one for now. And, oh, this is the one. See, I started it. I don't like where it's going. She has the silly putty over her eyes. I truly do not know where I'm going with this doll. I thought, well, maybe I'll make her a bearded lady in the circus. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see. For now, it's relegated to the pile behind me. And when I have time or inclination, I'll pick it up and start doing it again. Okay. So, all right. She should be, well, she's still got some wet spots. I tried to talk long enough to where this would dry. She still has some wet spots. So I am going to pause this and I'll come back as soon as she's completely dry, because I won't work on a wet doll because that's just an exercise in futility, and I have enough of that in my life now.